wanted to address a pretty important issue on the Please Subscribe show today. And one of my favorite vloggers is not Adam the Woo, it's not Jordan the Lion. And it's a vlogger that really can only get to me in an emotional way. And I'm gonna get a little bit of food right here. I'm eating lunch. And I was sitting here and I was thinking, I watch these other vloggers and they're really neat. They go out to Walt Disney World, they go out to Disneyland, they go to, Ripley's Believe It or Not, or Six Flags over Texas, different places across the nation. Even watched Carpetbagger earlier, Dolly World. But no vlogger out there is as good as this guy. And he also has a friend that does another vlog show that's really important called Sharing the Wild. I'll have to check into that one, hopefully that one. His dog's still doing okay. And he writes about van life. I know Adam the Woo went through some of that when he was starting off. And what he's addressing on this show today, and I'll let you see right here the date. Kicking them out, the city is cracking down on RVs. I'm glad I did that because it got me to the next thing. I am not in a house. Now, everybody has their own way of survival, their own way of fighting the elements. See how the birds are, oh yeah, they're outside. Right there, there's birds right there. Okay, so the birds are still kind of flying around. It's gonna go. But everybody out there has their way of basically fighting the elements, okay? First of all, we need oxygen, we need to breathe. Gotta have that food eventually. Gotta have, I say it over and over again, we gotta be able to have the shelter to fight the elements. Eventually we move in to some type of companionship, and then we self-actualize. We come to a sense that we are under the authority of something greater out there, God, right? So those are the levels. It starts with your breath, then it goes to water, then food, then shelter, then some kind of person that will become a need, and then eventually God. What he's talking about are RVs getting kicked out, people getting kicked out of their RVs that are extremely poor in Canada, and they're cracking down on a few RVs. I think he said 12 RVs or something like that. And a lot of these people out here, maybe I can show you through here because I don't want to really disturb the neighbors now because they're having their grill time or grill time. I don't know if you can see, but over yonder, that highway, just kind of imagine it, are a bunch of neighborhoods and houses. And some of those people, because of Corona and COVID, they will be moving out of those homes. A lot of them will be going in RVs. And a lot of them will eventually just kind of end up on the wayside somewhere. No Man Land is already a film by Frances McDormand, Holly Hunter's roommate, who's won 3 Oscars. And she did No Man Land. That's going to be going on. People are going to be losing their houses. And they're going to end up in camper vans and RVs. And they're going to run out of money. Now, I personally think sometime in the future, I don't know when it'll be, but we're just going to get rid of all this money business. And we're going to go on Scout's honor eventually, because it's going to get bad. The 30s are coming up. It's going to get real bad. People like Adam the Woo, Jordan the Lion, all those movie star type vloggers, they're going to end up in a very bad situation. And they know it. A lot of people are. I'm educated. I've taken philosophy, lots of theater arts, humanity. We're in a lot of trouble. So I see it all over the place. And the reason why I'm saying this is because when I'm on the road quite a bit, and I see many RVs. I see many people struggling this way. And this is going to be the way of the future for many. Many people are in a lot of trouble. Now, I am a father of 3 children. I do not get to see my children because of money. It's all about money, okay? Money and the love of money is a crime. It is a crime. If you love money, then you are committing a crime against God. But there are people out there that will reveal, they'll speak out, and they will say, this is my life. This is for real. And we're talking about a place that gets below 20 degrees. Now, he's almost froze to death a few times. This guy's for real. Think of like Jack Kerouac, maybe Adam the Woo. Jack London, this guy right here, right? See this right here? My Bucky's is fighting right here. See what that says? There. Jack London. Jack London. Now, I know what the cold is like. I lived in Maine. I lived in Parkman, Guilford, and Dover, Foxcroft. 17 months. There you work or you die. Okay. At the time when I was there, Bert Chavitz, the owner of Burt Bees, was alive. He's passed away, but anyway. You ever want an exciting show to watch? A very, very serious show. Drama, great knowledge about surviving in the extreme cold weather with a pet. Now, when I went to Maine, I took my 2 cats, Mojo and Romeo. I wrote about it, and I've talked about in fiction press. I'm a self-published author. Escape from Maine. I just couldn't hack it. I couldn't hack Maine. I knew from the first winter that this was too crazy, and the second winter it was even crazier. And when I left, it got worse. There's major winters. Got to watch this guy, Chrome Valdez, wonderful, wonderful vlogger, probably one of the best, and also his friend Sharing the Wild. Sharing the Wild is also a very, very good show, which is a person that knows him. But Chrome really knows how to edit. He knows how to do vocal, voiceovers, and he knows he's a great speaker. He's very articulate and a very, very good speaker. It's a good show, and his dog is a triumphant figure and character and friend in the show. If you're into Jack London, or if you're into any kind of show, check him out. Another thing about Stephen King, though, because I lived in Maine, not too far from Bangor. Stephen King did write about the Knot people that lived in like RVs and stuff. I want to figure that out. Leave a comment. It was in a sequel to The Shining called Dr. Sleep. But no, check out Chrome Valdez. I'm going to have a wrap here, probably a little after section like I usually do. Sometimes they say the vlog is over and then it kind of continues on a little bit. I was watching The Woo and he did that too. I guess they kind of all do that. But this is a whole new aspect of almost kind of like a new form of film and media. It's not exactly cinema. It's not like we're all Kubrick, but it is something new. You know, some of them are like Kubrick, you know, like Grim Life and stuff like that. They really pay attention to aesthetic detail. But this guy definitely gets right on your heart. He is a great, great vlogger. I was gonna do a really long vlog on why I was talking about child abuse, and I decided to do another type of vlog. I decided to kind of move on from some of that. A friend of mine used to tell me, he used to say, you know, he's a guy that went out to California and tried to get into roofing. And he told me one time, he said, you know, Cole, we always have Whataburger. Harmon Dobson was an American entrepreneur and one of the founders of the fast food chain Whataburger. Dobson was involved in the early growth of Whataburger franchise from 1950 until his death in 1967. So Dobson's early life all started, he was born in 1913 in Wayne, Oklahoma. He was born to a man named Hugh. I actually know a guy named Hugh Richard Massey III. He's a filmmaker. And he's also born, Hugh and Ethel Dobson. It takes a man and a woman to have a child. So Hugh and Ethel Dobson. Dobson was raised in a small rural farming community. So it all happened in a place called Cushman, Arkansas. And that's where Dobson spent most of his early life working on his parents' cattle farm. What happened at the age of 16 was really important to Dobson because this is when he decided that he was going to become educated and become a journalist and study at the University of Missouri. I actually have a professor of acting and of English that studied at the University of Missouri. It's a very important school. He decided that he was going to study journalism, but something happened to him that changed things quite a bit. He was forced to return to his family's farm after attending due to a family crisis during the Great Depression. Now, people were starving then, and it was 1934, and Dobson started to work as an apprentice iron worker. So an iron worker, okay? So I'm gonna say it, okay? I'm sorry, but that's how I say it, okay? Now, he later became a shipbuilder in World War II. His main goal was to be a journalist, but he had to forfeit that goal. Now, Dobson became a member of the Army. So he was an Army guy, and he worked in construction. Now, my father was special intelligence in the Army. He taught radar, and he taught it very strangely. I'll get into that. He kind of memorized it and said everything very, very quickly. A little like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. My father was drafted to Vietnam. Now, Dobson in 1942, something really weird happened, and he went off to North Africa. And he decided to work as a pipe fitter in a scrapyard. So he was, there putting all these cables together and rigging cables, and that led him into Bell Telephone Company, where Dobson later was hired to help build a naval base. And he worked on radio towers, on tanks, and hangars. Now, Dobson then bounced around a lot after that working. He actually went to Egypt. This man went to Egypt and worked on the Suez Canal, and then to Bahrain, where he was charged there as a construction worker. And he worked in a mess hall for a while. Then after World War II happened, he went ahead and moved on, and this was around 1945, and he went back to Arkansas. And then he worked buying and selling used cars. In 1955, Harmon did marry Grace Williamson, and together they had 3 children, just like me. I have 1, 2, and 3 children. Later in life, Dobson moved eventually here. He moved here to Texas. So he ventured to Texas, and he co-founded the first Whataburger with a man named Paul Burton, who was working at the time to open a hamburger joint. He wanted to open a hamburger restaurant. That was his main goal. And Dobson and Burton worked together on this goal to open the burger. Their idea was they wanted to make a burger that fits in both hands. So that was the goal, a hamburger that would fit in both hands. June 1950 came around, and Dobson granted what was known as the Whataburger trademark. You ever heard everyone say Whataburger? Well, in the South, we actually say Whataburger, like water you drink. But the correct way to say it is Whataburger. So it's Whataburger. So if you ever go to Whataburger, let that roll off the tongue and speak with distinction and say, Whataburger. August did come around of the same year, and they opened in Corpus Christi at a place called Ayers Street, okay? Now, that happened in Corpus Christi, and that was the very first ever Whataburger. Now, across the street was a little place called Del Mar College. We are probably going to go there and vlog the very first Whataburger. Dobson and Burton's business venture was short-lived when their partnership ended in 1951 because of a dispute over Dobson's price. They were raising the burgers from 25 cents to 30 cents at that time. A little thing about me is I had auditioned for the entrepreneurs of McDonald's. I didn't get the part, but I did audition. It's on my channel. I think they might have, I don't know if they've done the Whataburger one, but there was a series of films that came out about McDonald's, and I actually auditioned for, it was an indie film about McDonald's. Now, Burton and Harmon did decide that they would own a franchise Whataburger in San Antonio, Texas. So if you go to San Antonio, Texas, that's where Burton and Dobson came together to have the first franchise San Antonio Whataburger. Now, Harmon would own the rest of the company and its franchises. So Harmon was the main owner. Now, months later did pass, and Harmon raised the price for burgers up to 35 cents. It's a long time ago. This was back in 1952. Now, Dobson opened a location in Kingsville, Texas. This was the first store located outside of Corpus Christi. And in 1953, Joe Andrews, sir, became the first franchise owner that was one of the original founders with the location in Alice, Texas. And in 1959, the first Whataburger restaurant outside the state of Texas opened in Pensacola, Florida. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like this. So that way, when I change the thumbnail, you'll only see the Whataburger restaurant and not me going. I don't know who does the thumbnails for YouTube, but hello. 1960 comes around, and Dobson begins to grow these Whataburgers. Whataburger store has expanded at this point, and it operates across to Texas all the way to Florida. Good old JWW out there that knows Adam the Woo probably knows about when the first Whataburger was probably opened in Florida, also in Tennessee. Dobson then moved on and was inspired at this time and designed the orange and white striped A-frame store in Odessa, Texas. That was in 1961. 1962 comes around and the company introduced French fries. Now, I'm a big fan of Whataburger French fries. I absolutely adore them. I think their French fries, which are done in vegetable oil, are a good choice in the French fry. Now, they did add hot pies to the menu. This was back in 1962. Do the research, they did. And in 1963, Whataburger opened its first location in Arizona, totaling the number of 26 stores. 26 stores. That's a lot of stores. By 1965, it was estimated that Whataburger was selling 15,000 hamburgers a day. That's good for a hamburger place. Most of them closed down. 1967, business was booming. So that was the year, 1967, that Whataburger became the bomb when it came to hot. Now, what happens next is that Whataburgers commissioned the Flying W, okay? So that's, the W structure that we see today. And that became the Whataburger company logo. Kind of like if you think of McDonald's, their arch, this is Whataburger's logo that they did that became their own logo. And they expanded then at that time to 40 different locations in 4 different states. Tragedy did strike. So not everything goes your way, but tragedy did strike on April 11th of that year, 1967, a big year in Whataburger. The plane that Harmon Dobson was actually flying did crash. He crashed the plane in LaPorte, Texas, killing Dobson and his business associates. Dobson did leave the company to his wife, Grace, who did die in 2003. Now, in 1993, Tom Dobson, Grace, and Harmon's son became the CEO. And, well, they were the CEO and the president of Whataburger that now is worth, for all you church members, here it goes. Here we go, all you people waiting. It's worth $2 billion revenue, which is pretty good. We're going to talk about the airplane crash. Now, on April 11th of 1967, at around 4:30 p.m., that's when Harmon Dobson lost control, and his business associate, Luther John Sneed, they took off in Dobson's Cessna Skymaster, and at the airport, they took off at the airport LaPorte. They were headed to Victoria, Texas. Now, according to witnesses, these are eyewitnesses, Dobson was apparently taking off at a steep height. So he was going really high, really quick. And both engines on the plane simply failed at around 75 or 100 feet, which isn't really that high in the sky. And then it just plummeted back to the ground, killing everybody. We are only here for a blink of an eye. Time goes by very quick. So a lot of you that are watching this are probably going to be of a younger generation. Now, there could be some in Generation X, there could be some in Boomer generation, but a lot of you are probably watching this from different generations. Some of you that have been watching it, this has been going on for quite a bit of time, are probably already dead. We have to realize that in life, we're only here for so long. The next thing you know, you go to bed at night, and you don't wake up. Now, I'm not a very grim person. I am a big fan of Grim Life Collective. I think they're a great group of filmmakers that are out there in Hollywood right now, vlogging a lot of great sights of people that have died and had grim deaths. But nevertheless, Grim Life, they're one of the many. They'll pass away too, and maybe one day someone will go to their graves and vlog their graves. Everybody makes their imprint on this universe. Everybody basically has a footprint. Adam the Woo uses the term big the foot is kind of a way of saying that. So everybody out there is making footprints, and they all want, to say something. There was one thing that I learned in banking when I used to be a banker. And we sat down and we talked about banking, and one of the regional managers says, everybody wants some meat. Okay, so you're probably wondering, why do I smile like this? The reason why I smile like that is because when I do that, it makes you laugh. Oh my God, that was real Hitchcock right there. This bird just went, that was like damn the wrong way. Yeah, one bird went like this, another bird went right this way, and I was like, dang, yeah, there's all these birds. Like, I got birds that are living on my balcony. I'm now in Carrollton, Texas. It's June 8th, 2021. I decided to go check out a location that Harmon Dobbs' son, I call him Harmon Dobbs, but it's Harmon Dobson, had planted throughout his career, or other people have planted it for him. He had a dream to make a hamburger that would fit in 2 hands. We're going to find out if Harmon Dobson's dream came true. We're on our way. Away we go. Away we go. It says I'll be there in about 6 minutes. So it's about 8:24 on June 8th. And we are headed to Harmon Dobson's invention and Paul Burton's invention known as Whataburger. Whataburger. Now, I've been wanting to vlog Whataburger and Harmon Dobson's dream for quite a bit of time. My father is a big fan of Whataburger, and I don't know if he really likes the show because of the child abuse that happened to me when I was younger, but I had to be honest with all of you. I just had to be honest about things that I went through. But I know that he is a fan of Whataburger, and I have a story. A long time ago, my father shot a 300-pound boar. It was a wild boar. And he did it on a leased land not far from Woodson, Texas, which is in the Panhandle. The story was my father was nestled down in a brush of trees that were, chopped down trees. And he was, basically hunting for deer. I was in a deer blind, and he had been there throughout the morning. Well, I heard the gunfire, and I figured my dad had shot a deer. But what had happened is he saw a wild boar in the distance, and he stood up and he fired a shot at the wild boar, and it took off running. Well, after a while, a few moments later, a wild boar came charging him, came running like right after him. And he shot and went through the wild boar's neck and right through his butthole, or his anus. It burned right through his body. And the wild boar died. Well, nevertheless, the trouble was over, and I show up to find my dad searching for this wild boar. I guess he fired off a few rounds in the air it's kind of like a meeting signal shot, meaning like come and meet at this area. I think it's like 3 shots in the air, like bam, bam, bam. And I found him, and there, to our surprise, at his feet, my father finally found that wild boar, and he was bleeding right out of his butthole. And we got over the boar, and my father gutted it. And it didn't take long until finally blood was just gushing out of this wild boar. His belly was just bleeding horribly. And finally, he removed most of the intestines of the wild boar, and then the bladder and all the other vital organs, the heart, everything. And he dumped them right there before me. Now, I was very, very tired because we had woken up like at the crack of dawn. No pun intended. And we were very exhausted from hunting. And it was going on, I don't know, like maybe like 10 o'clock at night or later. We had been gutting this 300-pound huge wild boar for a very long time. And I was falling asleep while I was standing up because I was holding the flashlight. And my dad had this hunting knife. He said, "Stop falling asleep or I'm going to do to you, what I just did to this wild boar." And at that moment, he had just cut the balls off of the wild boar. And I was like, I better be quiet, or I better, have a focus and attention. So I stayed awake. He finished completely gutting the wild boar completely. And then he pulled the truck from the road to the wild boar. So he backed the truck. Well, he drove up there and backed the truck right up to the wild boar. We could not lift it. It probably was a little over 300 pounds. And we could barely get it up, 300 pounds is a lot. So we put cables around the pig's body. And we put the cables underneath the wild boar. And we jacked the cables until the wild boar lifted off the ground and was on the very back tail end of the Scout. We had a Scout vehicle, if you know what a Scout is. It's a type of vehicle. It's used in hunting and things like that. And basically at that point, we drove off from Woodson through Breckenridge, Texas, to the nearest Whataburger. And this wild boar, this pig, it was steaming, it was just killed, blood still leaking behind the truck, was fastened to the back of the pickup truck as we arrived to Whataburger, not too far from Breckenridge, Texas. And we got some people to help us load the wild boar, I believe, inside of the actual truck. Now, in my mind, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was loaded on the hood for a partial part of the trip. I don't know for sure if we ever loaded it completely, in the inside the vehicle. I think it was on the hood, and I just fell asleep. Well, we finally got to Whataburger, and I got like a little burger. My dad got a burger, and we celebrated that we killed that wild pig. Hello. Yes, hello.
Yes, sir. Are you ready to order?
Yeah,
Okay, can you hold for just a moment?
yeah. Do y'all have like hamburgers that fit in both your hands?
All of our burgers fit in both the hands.
Oh, they do?
A small one, you mean?
No, I'm saying like a big old hamburger that will fit in both your hands.
I mean, you can get your triple meat. We didn't put everything on the burger. We can add some to the burger.
But it fits in both your hands?
Yeah.
So basically, I just went with, the standard double and a large French fries is pretty much. I used to get the chicken thing, but. Harmon Dobson. 1950. Corpus Christi. So I ordered at about 8:34. It looks like they're getting closer to the actual making of the burger. I don't see a W anywhere. There's some stuff right here on the side window. That's some information I'm gonna vlog. And then I'm gonna go around the other side of the restaurant to see if there's actually a W. Because I know that Harmon and Burton, or Harmon Dobson and Paul Burton, both were behind that logo of the actual W. At least one of them was, or they agreed upon that, which is right here. You are pretty quick. I appreciate it. And you put the fancy ketchup in there?
Yes, sir.
All right. You have a good one. Thanks. So it looks like it's pure beef, 100%. There we go. One nation, under God, indivisible. Just like you like it. There's the actual A structure. So it is there on the actual building. You can see the structure of it right here. Harmon Dobbs and Paul Burton actually came up with that in the W there. Some of them are actually shaped like a W. This is a pretty nice one. And as you can see, all Whataburgers are open 24 hours a day. And here's a side view of this particular Whataburger here. W seems to be the main theme. Whataburger since 1950. And you can smell those vegetables. I'm sorry, the vegetable oil. There are some vegetables on the actual burger. You can see it. See, Dad? Got your favorite. I went ahead and tried a French fry. I'm gonna try another one right here. And the vegetable part of it is the vegetable oil they use. Very good. It's pretty good or pretty good. One of the main reasons why I wanted to try this particular vlog was I wanted to see if the actual hamburger fit in both hands. I didn't get a drink. I already picked one up at QT. So we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna see the size of the actual burger. Now these French fries will spill right out. You gotta be careful because they put it on the top. These are mostly like vegetable oil. And he did put both hamburgers, I'm sorry, not both hamburgers, I'm sorry. He put both French fries, I'm gonna actually lay this down and let you see it. So that's the actual burger. Here's my hand right here. It's my hand right there. So you can actually see it's actually upside down. So we're gonna flip it around. There's the actual hamburger. And you can see the size of it. It's a double meat. And we're gonna go ahead and dig into, I'm gonna go in first bite. It's very difficult to do. I would not suggest you try this while you're driving. The guy over there in the truck's looking at me. You know why? Because he doesn't have any Whataburger. Pretty good. That is a pretty good burger. Now, I'm excited to talk because I've had quite a few burgers in my time. This one, pretty good burger. Person over there is looking at me too because they want a Whataburger. That's a good burger. Now, Texas is a place where people love to eat. But if you're gonna make ketchup, make it like a Whataburger. Because Whataburger, and this is fancy ketchup, they make the best ketchup ever. You know, they're the best ketchup of all times. It's a very good ketchup. So we're going with this fancy ketchup. Pretty good. People wearing a mask behind me. They're looking at me because they want some Whataburger French fries. Those are really good. This one goes right in my mouth. Now I tell that story about my dad and the pig. It was a pretty good shot. My dad was Army. He taught me how to snipe. I actually did kill a white-tailed deer. It was a 100-yard shot from 100 yards. The deer was eating. I looked through my scope. I saw the deer. And I put the crosshairs on its shoulder blade. And I took a half breath. Now, when I pulled the trigger very slowly. So, not to know when the gun was going to go off. I didn't know. I pulled the trigger so slow that I did not know when the gun would go off. My main focus was to make sure that the crosshairs stayed on the shoulder of the 7-point white-tailed deer. Now, I thought it was an 8-point because one of its antlers was actually broken off. But it was probably about at least a 12-inch spread. Maybe a 14-inch spread. And when that gun went off, I saw that deer go. It went right through its shoulder and pierced the deer's heart. Now, the deer didn't just fall down and die. The deer took a breath and ran. But its heart could no longer beat. And eventually, after the deer ran about 70 yards or so, it fell over. My dad and his friend that was with him, hunting buddy, found the deer. I couldn't find it. I thought it ran in a different direction. I tried to spot it with my binoculars, but I didn't see it. He goes, "Hey, I found the deer. It's over here." Well, we finally got to the deer. My dad looked down, and it was basically 12-inch spread, and he counted the 7 nods or 7 antlers. There was not an 8th antler. It's a big problem. Game wardens. Not deer wardens. Not deer wardens. Game wardens. Game wardens have the right to search any property for a game without a warrant. It's the only authority that we know of that can just do that in a certain area of Texas. They can go in your truck, they can go in your cabin, they can go in your RV, your van, they can just go right in. They can find the fish, they can find the deer, they can find the hog, they can find whatever you killed, and they can say, this is legal and this is not legal, because they know you're there for hunting. But to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure they're the only ones that can really do that. Leave a comment. Well, they don't have to get in touch with a judge or anything like that. French fries are pretty good to search your vehicle or your property. I don't really know if they can go to your house. They might can, if they know that you broke some kind of law. But I got another story. When we were hunting one night, my dad and I were in this had this little, it was like a little tiny trailer on the lease, and there were these poachers. One thing about hunting is if there's poachers around, you want to make sure you're armed. That's when your assault rifle, your Colt 45, or you got a 22 or 25 or 9mm, M60, whatever you're hunting with. You want to make sure it's properly loaded, because a poacher can kill you. It's highly illegal to poach, especially for deer or any type of game. And so my dad gave me his Colt 45, said, if this poacher comes near us, because we were I think we were in the truck at the time, outside of where our little trailer was. He said, well, if they come up to us, just shoot them. Because even though it was leased, it was still our property. But they didn't. They just stayed out on the horizon poaching with their spotlight. They gut shot at a deer. They shot a deer in the gut, and they were looking for the deer, driving around kind of drunk. A lot of hunters will go out hunting drunk. It's very, very dangerous. Usually if an accident happens, it's because drinking was involved. When I mean drinking, I mean alcohol. Alcohol is the cause of many deaths. And if you're an alcoholic, I would immediately pick up the phone and call to get assistance. Alcohol will kill you dead. It won't kind of kill you. It'll kill you dead. And so will cigarettes, but nothing like alcohol. Alcohol is very dangerous. You don't want to hunt while drunk, ever. It's very bad. We never did. We had Gatorade, Snicker bars, beef jerky, but we were avid hunters. And my dad had killed many, many deer and many boar, wild boar, turkey too. He was a big turkey hunter. Now I could call turkey. Kind of sounds like a seal. It's a turkey call, and the gobbler would come like crazy. So my dad would sit me down at the base of the tree, or the trunk was like a tree, like a tree trunk, And I would just sit there in camouflage, almost like a ghillie suit nearly. And I'd be sitting there going, "Ow, ow, 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 ow." You know, I was only about 12. And those gobblers would just, you know, they just come right up. Now, the most important thing that you want to learn when you go hunting is you want to learn how to handle a rifle, a long rifle. The reason why is because you can seriously injure or possibly kill yourself if you don't know the mechanics of a rifle. I learned how to take apart my hunting rifle at the age of about 11 years old. And I could assemble the hunting rifle in front of my father, cleaning each piece of it inside and out as he smoked cigarettes and watched me at about 12 years old. And I could hit a bullseye for about 150 yards at the same age. Many Texans train their children to do this. We are avid shooters, big NRA fans. And we have guns. And if you try to take them away, we will kill you dead, without a doubt. Especially if you try to take away our assault rifles. I call them assault rifles because they're not they're not a defensive weapon. An assault rifle is an offensive weapon, meaning it offends. It's not a defensive weapon. An assault rifle is there to assault. And you will not take those either, or we will kill you dead. And that includes the game wardens. My father returned to the site of where he shot the wild boar. Went a few hundred yards from the area. He found another wild boar that had been shot. The first pig that he shot was the original pig. And the other pig charged him when he heard the gun go off. So he turned around and shot the other pig, and he thought that that pig that he shot had run around to charge him. But he had actually killed two pigs, because he went back and investigated, and there was another wild boar that was dead. So there was one that charged him, and that was one that he didn't shoot until that last minute, and then he shot him. But the first pig that he shot ran off and died. The second pig that came after him killed that one before he could kill him. Because pigs, if they get close to you, they can knock you down and they'll eat your guts out right there on a field.
That's all, folks.